to Political Misfits on Radio Sputnik, where we bring you news, politics, and culture without the red and blue treatment. My name is Jamal Thomas. I am here with my co-host, Bob Schlehuber. You hear that sound? It is the sexiest segment on the network, Trends with Benefits. As always, you can reach us either through tweets, chats, or a phone call, 202-521-1320. That's 202-521-1320. For some reason, I get tickled calling this the sexiest segment on the network. I love it. It's time. So BuzzFeed earlier today, and we debated on where to put the story, but I think the story fits here really well for Trends with Benefits, because this is definitely a trend. BuzzFeed reported that the Biden campaign has been passing around talking points to get his surrogates on the same page that Tara Reid, the woman that's accusing him of sexual assault, is basically lying. We've had Abrams on CNN going so far as to say New York Times basically exonerated her. And you have this woman who cried or teared up during the four Kavanaugh hearings, Gillibrand. Let's hear the clip of Gillibrand.
So when we say believe women, it's for this explicit intention of making sure there's space for all women to come forward, to speak their truth, to be heard. And in this allegation, that is what Tara Reid has done. She has come forward, she has spoken, and they've done an investigation in several outlets. Those investigations, Vice President Biden has called for himself. Vice President Biden has vehemently denied these allegations, and I support Vice President Biden.
Yeah, that's great. She supports Vice President Biden. After months, I got to be honest, this is pretty sad, this is pretty desperate, and this is pretty deplorable. After months of Democrats refusing to comment and many months of the media overtly not covering the story, several back-to-back releases of corroborating evidence shamed mainstream media into finally covering the story. It started off as a trickle with electronic publications and independent media. Then last night, the Democratic Party's main press outfit, MSNBC, covered the story. Enter one Chris Hayes. Let's hear Chris Hayes' clip.
There have been moments, I think for many of us, all of us, when we have heard about accusations against someone that we find ourselves desperately wanting not to believe. Whether that is because we have some personal admiration for the individual or their work, or political admiration, someone on our quote unquote side. But part of the difficult lesson of the MeToo era is not that every accusation is true and everything should be believed on its face, but that you do have to fight yourself when you feel that impulse. You have to do that in order to take seriously what is being alleged and what the evidence is and to evaluate it. And that is the case with the accusation by a woman named Tara Reid against Joe Biden.
Now, what do you think the response was to Chris Hayes? What do you think the response was to Chris Hayes? Chris Hayes did his job. He gave the story. Again, you had all sorts of corroborating evidence that took place around the time that Reid came out with this particular case. Fire Chris Hayes. Hashtag fire Chris Hayes. Trending this morning, and the last I checked, it was still trending. You have one person saying, I often love what Chris Hayes has to say about issues, but this bro departure and his message is a deal breaker. Fire Chris Hayes. Boycott Chris Hayes. Chris Hayes and Ari Melbourne are Bernie bros. They're grieving Magic Grandpa's loss and have decided to help re-elect Trump. This is astonishing. I would never watch that trash fire show again. Fire Chris Hayes. Or at least make MSNBC vet some S before throwing another election. There are all sorts of these. These people have lost their mind in attacking Chris Hayes for doing his job. All of you are propagandists. All of you are propagandists. If you felt some kind of way for Ford and Kavanaugh, that particular hearing that took place a couple of years ago, but you believe Biden is totally innocent, I am going to call you a lying dog-faced pony soldier. That's what I'm going to call you. I don't believe for a moment that you don't see the emancipatory hypocrisy of this pathetically absurd, ignoble position. We hate Trump. And because we hate Trump, we're not just willing to settle for Joe Biden, we're willing to attack a potential rape victim and attack people supporting that potential victim. You're so crap yourself petrified that you're desperate for a cognitively challenged man to beat Trump. This emergency is apparently too important for ethics, too important for integrity, too important standards, you all should be ashamed of yourselves. You all should be absolutely ashamed of yourselves. And just so we're clear, it wasn't Christian Gillibrand. It was actually Senator Kirsten
Gillibrand.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying it wrong. Kirsten Gillibrand. I'm sorry. Gillibrand, not Kristen.
People need to go back and watch these tapes of Kirsten Gillibrand and Kamala Harris as well, and how these two were so apoplectic around the Kavanaugh stuff. Yeah. Kirsten Gillibrand is on interviews like tearing up about it and how absurd it is that no one's listening. I mean, it's a mess right now. I don't know what Gillibrand's thinking. I don't know what Abrams is thinking. Stacey Abrams has basically... The people that I follow online who are big Abrams fans there in Georgia have said, I got to cut ties with her. I'm out.
Oh, and by the way, just to interrupt real quick, I didn't add this part. Abrams, when she came out with her case, Abrams came out and made the argument that New York Times basically corroborated Joe Biden, that basically New York Times put down this story. New York Times found this to be so onerous that New York Times reporter Lisa Lear tweeted out a response. Biden's campaign talking points inaccurately suggest that a New York Times investigation found that Tara Reade's allegation did not happen. Our investigation made no such conclusions. This is so sad.
Yeah. No, the New York Times definitely did plenty of favors for him, too, but it was a bridge too far. I don't know if they were listening to our show yesterday when we pointed out the fact that the New York Times is not a credible news source for when it comes to investigating sexual allegations. So they look into some bro journalists, go out there, they interview some people, and they are the definitive voice. I don't remember the New York Times finding anything on Kavanaugh, but yet we went ahead with committee hearings. I mean, where's Jeff Flake when we need him, Jamarl, to bring some truth to the moment?
That's right. I mean, I like, it is a whiplash, right? I remember I was around during the Kavanaugh hearings. And as I was around during the Kavanaugh hearings,
you say that like it was in like the 1940s. It was like, yeah, a year and a half ago.
Right? I mean, because of the way they're acting. Like, it's like just an immediate flip. We completely believe Kavanaugh did it. We don't believe Joe Biden did it. What? How are you coming to that weird conclusion? I can see if you say, I don't believe either one, or I believe both. I don't know how you believe one and not the other. That's a bizarre situation.
So what does he do, Joe? I mean, if you have to advise or Joe Biden, you can advise Bernie Sanders to advise Joe Biden, however you want to do it. But what do you say to Joe Biden? Because there's no way he can't keep going without addressing this. There's going to be too many people. Yeah, so you take it head on, and what do you say? You deny it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if Joe Biden's argument up to this point was it didn't happen, then how can you deviate from that? Like, I don't necessarily. I give Tara Reade the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know as a flat fact that it happened. And if my name is Joe Biden and I'm saying that this didn't happen, then I'm going to go out there and say, look, this did not happen. I understand there might be corroborating evidence, but you better have an explanation for why she's telling people this, or for that matter, why she was fired from her position. Like, because under Joe Biden's idea, she's making this out of whole cloth. Is it possible? Yes. But there's a lot of weird stuff that went on at the time that shown that something was going on around her at the time where all of this was taking place. And so if your name is Joe Biden, I think you have to deal with it. I mean, people are going to either accept it or not. But pretending like this doesn't exist is going to eat you alive. I mean, when Donald Trump weaponizes this, when the Republican Party weaponizes this, you already have Chris Hayes on MSNBC playing this, that's not going to stop. Especially if Joe Biden continuously says, I didn't do it. And you know what's going to happen? Media is going to have a fiduciary responsibility that's going to supersede any notion of trying to protect Joe Biden. Just like when Elizabeth Warren was like, how are you going to pay for it, Warren? How are you going to pay for it? And the moment that she kept saying she's not going to tell, they kept asking her the question. The same thing will happen to Biden.
Yeah, we have one of our favorite callers on the line, DJ. DJ, thanks for hanging out with us here on Political Misfits.
Oh, thanks for having me.
What's up, man? What's on your mind?
Oh, I didn't know I could be here. Sorry about that. Yeah, I just feel like that Chris Hayes come to Jesus moment, it's all for show.
You think
to be
so?
honest, the Washington Post article. The reason why is because Biden is done. I do not believe for a second that they're going to keep him. They're prepping to get rid of him.
I see.
But the optics of that phone call are insane. Like that, the way anyone would perceive that, it's like, okay, you have a mother who made that phone call. According to the neighbor, that phone call was against Tara's wishes because she respected Biden. It came 20 years later, that is the only thing that's preventing her from having her name dragged through the mud. It's something that really catches people's attention, because if I'm being honest, I did not believe that until I heard that call.
Really?
I didn't believe those allegations. I'm ashamed to admit it, yeah.
Well,
but
why didn't you? I'm curious. Why didn't you believe it until you heard that phone call?
Well, honestly, you got to factor in things like the MeToo movement, where you look at these politically motivated. They use these things. It's a weaponized tactic. To be honest, you look at the believe all women regardless. You should listen to everyone, but to say that nuance is not a factor in any of these circumstances, that's bad. To just say nothing is 100%. Everything requires balance, and then just to say that it's just like, we want this weapon that can be used at any point in time. And looking at those Kavanaugh proceedings, that was really, really shady. And then you're looking at this and you say, okay, well, she's not reporting this to the cops. She's reporting this to the news outlet. Right. That was something that I've heard many people say. That it's like, well, what's the intent of a news outlet? To inform people. What's the intent, or what's the purpose of going to the authorities? Even if the statute of limitation isn't a factor, you create a record of a particular behavior. So the actions communicated a certain intent behind what she was doing. Then you start looking at a lot of the things that the people that she was connected to. You do put those things into consideration. The brother, the unusual situation with the brother, where he's like, "Oh yeah, come on, sis. If someone told me my sister was assaulted, someone's got to leave this earth." I don't want to. I don't know if it's appropriate to say that, but that's true. So you hear that and you're like, that doesn't really make sense to me.
Dude, thank you for calling in, man. I appreciate your call, DJ. So Bob, what do you think about that? I agree with that, right? Basically, like I said, I try to take the position that I don't agree or disagree. It's kind of like I give both of them their due, dancing between the raindrops, which is kind of understanding that as a flat fact, I don't know. And so because as a flat fact, I don't know, I kind of give both the benefit of the doubt. But there are times where I lean towards one way or the other. What do you think about what he just said? That basically, like, look, I took it as maybe she wasn't telling the truth until I heard her mom's cooperation, because her mom's cooperation was so stirring. The fact that, this is coming like 20 years or 30 years in the past, where she's calling it the Larry King, trying to make this, like, reaching out to trying to find something to do with her daughter because she can't necessarily do anything on her own. I agree with him. The optics on that are pretty powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I think for everyone, it kind of just adds up, and different people have different moments where they change their opinion on things. And at this point, there's so much that's out there. I mean, obviously, these papers of Joe Biden's Senate time in the Senate, I would still love to see those. So there's more information, and that just plays worse into Joe Biden's hand. Like, there's more things that are going to come out. There's going to be more pressure to release those papers. It's in a weird situation, though, because Tara Reade did go to the Washington police, the Metropolitan Police Department. I could have told her earlier that they're useless, but this investigation is not going to happen by the police. It's beyond a statute of limitations. Yeah. And so there is no actual legal recourse she can take that I'm aware of. And so it does need to go into the hands of the media and the public discourse. So it'll be really fascinating to see how it plays out, and when Joe Biden does comment, if he's able to stay awake while he makes those comments, what he's able to say. But then you even have, was it Rose McGowan, who is now, I don't care about these white women crying about the Me Too movement. Obviously, these people are victims as well. They should care, but they've propped up the Democratic Party. They've been mindful players within the system and propping it up. But other people, big name celebrities, there's schisms now forming within the second wave of the Me Too, the celebritization of the Me Too movement. And that is also really damning for other victims that are out there. I mean, they're willing to back Joe Biden at the expense of other victims coming forward, because when Kirsten Gillibrand, who's been a champion for sexual abuse within the military, and making sure that has been called out and questioned, and I've really appreciated her on doing that, but now all of a sudden she's siding with Joe Biden without all the information coming forward. You have somebody like Stacey Abrams, who is a champion for many black women across the country and is a very important political figure. She's saying, I trust Joe Biden as well. These women are doing irreparable damage to the long-term effort of the Me Too movement and for victims to come forward, because now all of a sudden these high-profile women who people thought were on their side and there was some momentum to be gained there are now coming out for Joe Biden ahead of all of the information even being on the table. That, for me, Jamarl, is going to set a really bad precedent.
Oh, that's a horrible precedent. I mean, not just a horrible precedent, it's also a contradiction in terms, right? Joe Biden is trying to get a woman to be his vice president. As getting a woman to be his vice president, the entire point is to add, this notion that the person who's coming behind me is going to be a female. We need to have a woman in this particular spot. It's her turn, et cetera, et cetera. Fine. I would prefer to get somebody based on policy, but whatever floats your boat.
Jamarl, let's slide in one last caller here before we have to turn to a break. Crazy Karen, she is called. That's not my name for her, but Crazy Karen, welcome to Political Misfits.
Hi, I just walked in on this conversation, but I heard Jamarl on Fault Lines yesterday. Are you aware there's another woman accusing Joe Biden of sexual assault?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. I did see that.
Did see it. Do you find that credible?
Well, I don't know enough about that one. I mean, honestly,
thank you for your call, Karen. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that one. I mean, Bob, do you know anything about that particular assault?
No, that's not I had not heard about that. So we'll look into that and report on that tomorrow, Jamarl.
Yeah, that's fine. I got to be honest. For somebody like Warren, who basically said, I believe women. I mean, like so definitively about it, where she's going to, on the debate stage, she's talking to Chris Matthews. She even goes after Bloomberg about the NDAs. Well, isn't it not the same thing? I mean, whether it's an NDA or whether you have a university that's holding records that you don't disclose, isn't that the same? I mean, basically, there's information that's out there that may either corroborate or undermine a person's story. She wants the information out. We definitely want the information out because we want to know the reality of it. And Biden, not so much. Democrats, not so much.
I was told there was going to be an April debate with the DNC. Can we get Warren back in there with Biden and pressure him like she did to Bloomberg? Maybe it's not too late, Jamarl.
There's no way. Sadly, she's trying to be VP. That's kind of my point. That's the contradiction, right? I believe women, but yeah, I'm trying to be VP now, so not this woman.
No, not this woman. Well, Jamarl, with that is all the time we have for our weekly Trends with Benefits segment. I think.